Hi everybody, and welcome back to Thursday night live streaming Strumstick lessons. And the song we're going to work with tonight is going to be Don't Think Twice, a Bob Dylan song, great folk standard. And this song is a very sort of traditional Travis picking on guitar kind of a song. We're going to start it with some strumming just to get the chords down, and then we're going to see how to translate that to finger picking on the Strumstick. So while people are still gathering, I'm going to run through the chords. We've added a couple of extra chords, and then we're going to add, there's some very key ornaments to put in as we go through this, and we'll do either with the strumming or with the finger picking. So let's start and take a look at, it's D, A, B minor, G, D, A, D, and then an optional A as a turnaround when you go from the intro into the verse. You could just hold the D for an extra measure, or you could do the A between the verses and between the intro and the song. So with just a basic strumming rhythm, the intro is... So it just goes steadily through the chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And that's actually the same chords as the very last line, the very last pair of lines. If you look right here, D, A, B minor, G, D, A, D, and then the optional A at the end. So that's the intro. And we'll be doing that with finger picking in a little bit. Then the first verse, ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now, and then the A, and it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Now this was written as an E with 7 in parentheses. I'm missing the second half of the parentheses, but what the parentheses generally mean as I use them is that the thing that's in the parentheses is optional. So you could play the E, or you could play E7th, which would be 2 of the notes of the E, but with this first string open. Or you could play it with the bar for the E and put the pinky here in the middle string to create the 7th. You could also do first and second string and add the 7th in the bottom. Now this is not a full 7th chord. A full 7th chord is a major chord, the 1, the 3, the 5 notes that make up the chord, plus the flatted 7th. In this case, that would be in E. The proper notes are E, G sharp, and then B, na na na, and then the 7th would be the D, na 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 na. That's the 7th chord, that sound. So when we go here, we're playing 2 of the notes from E plus the 7th, but it's not quite that jazzy, 4-tone sound that a 7th chord is. But it's what we got on Strumstick, because we do not have a G sharp anywhere on the Strumstick unless you bend the string. Wait a minute. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Stop the presses. There's a G sharp right there, because this is A, and that's A flat, and that's G sharp. So if we could get an E and a B, we can certainly get the B around that. But how are we going to get the E? Let's see. We could hear. There's an E up here. All right, a horrible fingering. The B. Oh, that makes the major without the 7th. So here's, that's not a bad E7th there. So we have this note here is the B. This note here is the G sharp, which is the 3rd. And this note here is the D, which would be the flatted 7th. And we're missing the E, but this carries kind of the sound of the E7th. So once more, that's I think you can see my fingers. First finger on 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth fret on the third string, and then third finger on the 7th fret on the middle string, and pinky on the 8th fret on the first string, which is the octave of the open D. And I probably can't, I've never practiced that chord, so I'll try and change to that, but there'll be a little pause here. So where we're doing that is, so we're at, ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow. Okay? I like that chord in there, that works. You could just do this. It don't matter anyhow. Or you could do, it don't matter anyhow. Now, since we're coming from a B minor here, and we have to jump all the way up to here, we might try doing, watch, this B minor. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It don't matter. See, all I'm adding is one note to the B minor. That works out really nice. It don't matter anyhow. And I could use the bar A right here for the A. So D, starting from ain't no use right here. So ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow. And now we're perfectly set up for the A7th that follows, which is these two notes from the A plus a G. Okay? Anyhow. Or these two notes, these two, all three, then these two plus this G. And, so we're at, let's take it from the, it don't matter anyhow. And you could use fingers 1, 2, and 3. It forces 2 a little far from this fret, but it's okay. Or you could use 1, 3, and 4 fingers. And we're at the 3rd fret and at the 4th fret. This finger's doing nothing. I'll try to get it out of the way. So I got 3rd finger, pinky, 1st finger. Or over this way for the A7th. And the other way you can do A7th is, would be the finger, I'm sorry, this is A. So where the 2nd string is open, or this way. All those fingerings have a good 7th-y sound to them. So then, rooster crows anyhow. When your rooster crows at the... Now I could play just the 6th fret on the 3rd string to get a D7th. Break it on, but it's a little more 7th-y if I put my 1st finger down on 2nd string at fret number 5 there, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Break it on. So it's when your rooster crows at the break it on. And if you use this D, you've got your fingers already in combination. We're moving over here to that. So we've got rooster crows at the break of dawn. And then G, look out your window and... Now we're going to call this an E6. Again, this is not fully an E6, but it's E with an added 6. So we're going to add 1st string, 2nd fret. See where it says add string 1, fret 2. That's there. And then just put the bar across the 1st finger, across the 1st fret. So it's this chord, the E, plus this note. And you could use whatever combination of fingers works for you there. Okay? So when you're rooster, let's do this D. Rooster crows at the break of dawn. Look out your window and I'll be gone. And the reason it's the E6 there is you could just play the E without the 6. Look out your window and I'll be gone. But the melody note there is that F sharp, that is the 6 of an E chord. It's the 2 of an E chord. My bad. It's a 6 of some other chord. So that's an E with added 2. It's a 6 of an A chord. I was picturing coming from an A chord to there, but it's an E chord to there. So right here where the E6 is, that's actually an E2, but this is correct. You add string 1, fret 2. So when your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. And it makes it a lot easier to sing that note because you're not singing it against that note. You could say, look out your window and I'll be gone. And I think some people sing it that way. Look out your window and I'll be gone. But the harmony that I'm, the version I'm used to knowing is, look out your window and I'll be gone. Look, you're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice at all. I think it's really low, all right. So you have to use your Johnny Cash voice for that. And then the A if you're going to do the turnaround. So that's the basic setup on the chords. So just to run through quick one more time, taking from line number 2, ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. And then the E7th, it don't matter anyhow. And we suggested if you did, ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, for the D, A, B minor. Then you just have to add add the third finger in the middle. It don't matter anyhow. When your rooster crows, or for that matter, rooster crows, rooster crows, rooster crows, rooster crows at the break of dawn. And using our anything on the third string could have been on the first string. Break of dawn. We could have done break of dawn, break of dawn, rooster crows at the break of dawn, rooster crows at the break of dawn, rooster crows at the break of dawn. Different harmony combinations there, same chords all the way through. Then G, look out your window and add the second, not the 6th, but it's 2nd fret on the first string. I'll be gone, or I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's all right. You can either go all the way down to right, or don't think twice, it's all right. Right, and the third choice, right, 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 it's all right, right, right. Don't think twice, it's all right. Don't think twice, it's all right. So there you go. There's the chords. Now, to ornament this, first I'm going to do the finger picking, and then I'm going to show the ornaments, and the ornaments are going to work the same way with the strumming. But will take a little more time to get the finger picking down. Now it's a very simple pattern. It's thumb, first finger, thumb. That's the basic pattern, and we've done that before. So it's thumb, 1, thumb, thumb, 1, thumb. Now I customarily rest my fingers against the edge of the strumstick here because I'm not trying to reach across 6 strings. Everything is right near where it needs to be. Give myself a little tight reference here, something to push against and pull against. And the rhythm for that is 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Now you can add the extra and after the 2 and go 1 and 2 and. So it's either thumb 1, thumb 1, or thumb 1, thumb. So I'll start with thumb 1, thumb, thumb 1, thumb, thumb 1, thumb, thumb, one, thumb, or thumb, one, thumb, one, thumb, one, thumb, one, thumb, one, thumb, one. And it's like you're saying someone with a lisp. Thumb, one, 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 thumb, one. Okay? So that's the basic two patterns, but we'll do the first one, thumb, one, thumb. Let's think of that as the main pattern. The reason for using that a little more is that the extra and on the at the end after the two gives it a very smooth rolling sound, but it also means you have to really hurry on your next chord change. Anytime you play or strumming or finger picking the and after the last beat before the chord change, you've got only a half beat to get your chord change in instead of, you know, a bit more than a half beat. You still have to let the, you know, the beat ring out a little bit, but you've got a little more time to get your chord change in. So that's one reason for leaving off that last and. If it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, you can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then you have a whole beat approximately to get the chord in. Although you don't want to leave the chord you're on too early, even if you have a whole beat, because if you cut it off right away, sometimes that doesn't sound good. However, a lot of times, especially if we're going to go into an ornament at the next chord, it's nice to leave that one beat space to set up the hammer on or the pull off or whatever the ornament is. So in this case, we're going to go, let's take the first verse. We won't do the intro, we'll just do the first verse. Ain't no use, like that. Ain't no use to, so it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Ain't no use to, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Ain't no use to, I did an extra one, sorry. Ain't no use to, and that's one measure, that's one whole 4-beat measure. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the timing on this. So where you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a good place to stay just on that 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And you could count that 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. That's technically what the rhythm is. But since I'm going thumb 1, 2, thumb 1, 2, thumb 1, 2, if I count it 1 and 2, 1 and 2, thumb 1 thumb, thumb 1 thumb, thumb 1 thumb, thumb and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. It helps you keep track of which pattern you're doing a little easier. So, ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Now I'm doing this a little slow, just so you can see the chord change timings. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. And you could make this even sparer and just do alternating thumbs. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. That's just going 1, 2, 1, 2, thumb, 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 alternating strings on 3rd string, 1st string. So you can think of this as just alternating thumbs with an occasional flick of the 1st finger. And that's a really nice, simple, kind of a mountain-sounding rhythm to start it with. If you went 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 1, and 2. 1, 2, 1, and 2. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Now we've got 2 measures on the B minor, and then we have 2 measures on the G, and we've got, let's just take those 2. Now since we've got 2 full measures, that's not a bad place to start putting in the 1 and 2 and. So I could go why 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for the 2nd measure. So where I've got beat, beat, beat off beat, I'm going to go beat off, beat off, beat off, beat off when I do the 2nd measure of B minor. So ain't no use used to sit and wonder why, babe. And that fills in that unsung space. There's a instrumental space there with no lyrics. Why, babe? With a little, almost like a little rhythmic lead part by doing the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then the G, 2 measures again. Let's do the same thing. If you don't know, I'm sorry. If you don't know by now. And we could repeat that for the A also. The D to the A takes 2 measures. It's not 2 measures of D, 2 measures of A. It's 1 of D, 1 of A. But we've established this little 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1, 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Then 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. However, we do have a chord change in there. So if you want to drop an an offbeat off, 1, 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. What we're doing? 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1, 2. Yeah, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so that's the basics of that. Just playing it through without singing. And I wasn't keeping track of exactly where I did the end and where I didn't there. So, ain't no use sit and wonder why, babe. There's the extra measure. If you don't know by now. And that A is kind of an exposed chord also. So that's another a good way to think of using the 1 and 2 and when the chord is exposed. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. And now the E7th, it don't matter anyhow. For the moment, I'm going to do the simple chord here. It don't matter anyhow. But you could just as easily do, it don't matter anyhow. And then the A7th. So you can see we've got two sets of complexities here. We're using some chords we haven't used before, at least not so many of them. There's a whole bunch of 7th chords in here, the E7th, the A7th, and the D7th. So you want to get those down, and it might be easier to get those down doing it just with the strumming that you're more, maybe more familiar with than the finger picking, and then work on the finger picking using the simpler fingerings for those chords instead of the harder ones. And then phase the harder chords in. And when you're finger picking, as I suggested, doing the D this way and the A this way and the B minor this way and then the E7th and then the A and then the A7th. Here's what that sounds like. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It don't matter it don't matter anyhow. So it's got a very, almost like a carousel kind of feeling, calliope sound almost when you get that finger picking going with those changing 7th chords, because now you've got a lot of notes changing as you go through there. With the simpler chords, ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow. But you've still got some changing going with the simple chords too. Okay, then your rooster crows at the break of dawn. And that D7th up there works great because you got the thumb going. Break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's alright. So the basic concept for this is you could go thumb, thumb, you could go thumb, 1, thumb, 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 1, thumb, thumb, 1, thumb. So 1, 2, 1 and 2, or 1 and 2 and. And it doesn't critically matter which one you do where, but to be shifting among those actually matters a lot. Because if I play, let's say I just went, sorry, how long did it take you before that that pattern repeating got monotonous? For me, it hit someplace, maybe a little after the beginning of the second verse, because I was kind of yearning for some little refreshment at that point. Now, if same thing, if you did the 1 and 2 and. So any one of those patterns played long enough is going to get a little monotonous. But as soon as you do those two, sprinkling them in wherever, and those were the two places we had suggested deliberately doing the 1 and 2 and, but it could have been anywhere. And I inadvertently did a few, thumb, 1, 2s in there also. So with those three things going for you, that's like you got red, blue, and green crayons now. So you can do a lot of coloring with 3 colors. 1, 2 is one color, 1 and 2 is another color, and 1 and 2 and is the third color. So work on any one of them by itself until it's kind of automatic, and then work on another one until it's kind of automatic, and then try playing, 4 of one and then 4 of the other. So you're going 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. And sometimes it's not as much fun to sit and do a drill like that as it is to play the song. But if you let yourself sort of sink into the sound of the strumstick and be entertained by just the raw sound of the strumstick, and let yourself sink into the rhythm that you're making, 1 and 2, 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 and you let yourself find the music in that little simple pattern, whatever it makes you feel like, but find the music in that, then that little repetitive drill has a little spark and a little life of its own. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And the same thing if you're going to practice 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. It has a different flavor than 1 and 2. So you can allow yourself to almost get lost in the notes that you're making, and that's a great way to practice, because you're listening, you're still managing the rhythm, you're still working the rhythm, but you're sort of integrating yourself with the rhythm, so you're really driving the rhythm. You're not just kind of sloppily waiting for your fingers to finish doing their push-ups, So, so do some of those little drills, get those patterns down so they're fairly fluid, and then you will be able to switch from one to the other with a little more grace, without having to stop and say, oh, wait, it's time to switch. What do I switch to? Oh, my goodness. Wait, I already did that one. Maybe I should do this one. And by this time, you've interrupted the whole song. So just, you're doing this. Switch to this. Whenever. Go back to the first one. A couple of thumbs. Let's do the complicated one. It's the changing is what matters. Okay, so now we have covered the finger picking patterns, the 3 little patterns that we're going to use in the song, and suggested mixing them up and changing as you go through. Now let's go to the ornaments. The most of the ornaments we're going to do are going to be a hammer-on at the beginning. Now, since we are going 1 and 2, hammer-on would come at the same time as the first finger, right? So the hammer-on would get lost in the sound of that pluck, and that pluck would get lost in the sound of the hammer-on. So the hammer-on has its own little sweet ba-boom, ba-boom sound. So we don't want to mask that. So we're going to do the hammer-ons with a thumb-thumb. So we could almost think of this as a fourth finger-picking pattern. Thumb, hammer-on, that third string, and then thumb-one. So it's kind of like we're going 1 and 2 and, thumb 2, thumb 1, but we're not doing that. I'm sorry, thumb 1, I'm talking finger numbers now. Thumb 1, thumb 1, thumb hammer, thumb 1, thumb 1, thumb 1, thumb hammer, thumb 1. Okay, so the hammer-on takes the place of that first string note if you're going to go 1 and 2. So thumb, 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 thumb. And there's another quick little drill for you. Then on the A chord, it's just sitting there ready to go. And lo and behold, on the B minor. And the G, hammering on 3rd fret, it's a little tricky. You could get a little fancy and go and sort of reverse it. So you're going second finger, 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 3rd finger, or so you could use the hammer-on the 2nd string if you can't quite get that across 3 frets, hammer-on with the pinky of all things. Now there's another sneaky little trick on the G chord. If you're going to do a hammer-on, it's a really fun sound if you just use your 2nd finger and don't finger anything else. This little, that sound in sequence, you're playing both at once, they're a little dissonant, but if you play them one after the other, thumb, 1st finger, thumb again. That's a really nice kind of shimmery little sound. So if you do the hammer-on, instead of so that's another substitute you could do if that hammer-on doesn't work for you on the G. And the other trick you could do is do the hammer-on on the pinky with the G, but don't bother holding the 1st finger down. Just kind of slant over towards this finger and get the rest of the G in by the time you get to the 2nd half of the pattern. So little dodges of the trade there. I kind of like that little sound there, right? And then we go to the A, to the D again. I'm sorry, so we did the B minor, G, if you don't know by now. So it's one measure of that, and one measure of the A. Now you could do the A with the 1st finger, 2nd finger. We show it that way a lot, but I think the hammer-on is easier with 2nd finger, 3rd finger fingering for the A. Try it either way, or you could even do this. But this fingering sort of calls you to push your hand away, and you've been hand up and in kind of for this one in a kind of relaxed position. Whereas that is almost the same hand position as this. See, my actual hand almost does nothing except move down to here and a little farther to make room for this one. But if I'm fingering this and I want to do this, it's not the same hand position. It kind of swings this way. Because this finger is so close to the edge when it reaches over there, it needs a little room to wrap up and over. So, and that's a subtlety, but So basically we have a hammer on, and every chord we can squeeze a hammer on in at the 1 beat. Sorry. So you really have to concentrate on that pinky, especially after you've hammered it on. I was kind of thinking about the next thing, and I stopped squeezing with the pinky. So here's that whole verse with just that hammer on in every place, just so you can hear what it sounds like. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Now here, E7th here. If you don't, it don't matter anyhow. And give yourself a break on the A7th. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn. Now, who in the world said you were allowed to hammer on over 6 frets? But it works. The reason it works is because you're out in the middle of the string where the tension is less. The closer you get to the center of the string, this is the full length, the octave fret is the exact center. This is where the tension to push the string down is the least. Right here is where the tension to push it down is the most. Now you have to push it down farther here because the strings, rise more off the fingerboard as they move up. But still, this is a doable hammer on with your 3rd finger or your 2nd finger. Now you don't have to hammer on and do the chord at the same time. You could just hammer on that note and not worry about it. Or you could go, I think it's almost easier to do the hammer on and then bring this finger in to complete the chord. Then look out your window and now this A, I'll be gone. I have not much choice but to hammer on the whole blasted bar chord. But these strings don't have to sound as I'm hammering on. It's just this bottom string. You're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's all right. So there we have that hammering on every chord or every one you can manage to do. And that gets to be a little monotonous too and a little bit much. But since you're practicing it, you might as well practice it on every chord. And then, just like we did before, we had the 3 patterns, the 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and. In this case, we have 1, 2, and then 1 hammer on 2, and then we have 1, 2 and we have 1 and 2 and we have 1 and 2. So we've got all those combinations, so you can do the hammering on some place and not other places. Good to do it at least twice in a row. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, it don't matter anyhow. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's all right. And I never took a long stretch with all hammers on until I got to the verse number, whatever that is, the last verse, which is the same as the introduction. And that brings us back to the introduction. There it is, right up there. And that's a good way to do the introduction, is with a hammer on at the beginning of each chord. And there I chose to play the D twice rather than going to the optional turnaround A there. Okay, so there's there's a whole package of stuff to practice by itself and then put into the song. When you play the song with all the verses, you've got, you know, what, 5 verses in that song. So you don't have to use all your tricks in the first verse. You might do the hammering on at the intro, keep it simple for the whole verse 1, and then keep it simple but in a different way for verse 2, and then start to work more hammering on in verse 3. You can treat it kind of like blocks like that, or you can just kind of let it flow and do a hammer on the chords you're comfortable doing the hammer on. And if you don't do the hammer on, it's no big deal. And there's a great virtue if you are doing the hammer on everywhere. And then you stop. It's a nice change. It's very refreshing. The hammer on itself is refreshing, but then going to not hammer on is also refreshing. So all the way through, we're thinking of making little changes here and there to keep the song kind of organic and moving and alive, and giving the ear a little something that's different, you know, fairly often, so that it keeps kind of on the hunt in a way, because you've got this basic rhythm. You've got a very steady da-ba-doon, 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 dum boom, dum boom, dum boom, da-ba-doo-doo, dum boom, dum boom. You've got this is happening all the time anyway. So you've got plenty of familiarity to keep, you know, the customer satisfied with comfort and that which is familiar. So now you want to give them a little candy. Take them home for a while with just the beat. Take them out for a little cruise. Show them a few new things. Fancy chord, don't have to do much there. Another fancy chord, don't have to do a lot. Then let's go back home to a steady beat for a while. Get a little fancy. Back to the hammering on, a little more candy. So again, we're doing the dance, the novelty familiarity dance, that which is familiar, repeated, comfortable, love comfort, love things not changing, but then you get a little bored, you want a little something fresh, you want some novelty. So that what we call the novelty familiarity dance. And that's your job through the song, is to do that. Now, it's a song, so all this is background. The words and your singing of the words are the initial thrust of the song. So you don't have to get super, super complicated with what you're doing on the strumstick while you're singing. First of all, it's much harder to sing when you're doing something that takes most of your concentration to do on the strumstick. Your singing will be the first thing to suffer, unless you're a really accomplished singer. So you could just go, you can always just fall back on this while you're singing and practice singing it with just that. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, it don't matter anyhow. Now around about there, you're going to start to get a little bored with just that anyway. So that's the time to start to add to your singing the extra notes. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. And if you listen to the Bob Dylan original version of this that he recorded on, what was it, album number 2 or number 3, I think, it's his finger picking is kind of, it's fast, and it's ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. If I remember right, I haven't listened to that recording in a long time, but that was one of the recordings I learned to play guitar with his early acoustic recordings. So you can think a little more in the Peter, Paul, and Mary direction. The Peter, Paul, and Mary arrangement for this song is kind of a little more dramatic. And of course, they're playing two 6-string guitars plus an acoustic bass, stand-up bass in that beginning. So there's a bigger instrumentation than just the 6-string and occasional harmonica that Dylan was using. But they approach it with a little more, drama, a little more in the direction of a pop song rather than a 50s and 40s era Woody Guthrie kind of a song. So they dressed it up a little more. And you can do it any way you want. Now, you can't do the full Peter, Paul, and Mary version because you haven't got the drama available of two guitars trading rhythms back and forth and all that. So I think keeping it spare and then picking it up a little bit is the perfect way to do the song. So you're not quite as, the Bob Dylan version is a little hurried. Ain't no use sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. And it's kind of, it's tight and kind of clipped. Now he wrote it, so it's his song. But you can open it up a little bit more. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Make it a little more thoughtful. If you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow. So there's a kind of an interesting happy medium unfilled there between the sort of the urgent, quick, clipped Bob Dylan version and the dramatic, profound Peter, Paul, and Mary version, both of which I love, by the way, tremendously, both of those versions. But I think this suits the Strumstick a little more air. And it's an interesting thing. It's when you're playing what is fundamentally a simple instrument. This is not an orchestra. This is not a piano with 88 notes and 10 fingers to play those notes. It's not a guitar with 6 strings and a whole bunch of alternate places to play different notes up and down the neck. It's a little 3-string instrument, but when you're playing a 3-string instrument, keep it simple and let the slightly less simple thing really shine. So to play on a guitar, to play and then put a hammer on, it's not that. It's not as big a deal when you add that in on a guitar. It's a little ornament. It's just, but you already got, you're not doing 3 strings. You're already doing, your finger picking is crossing 4 or maybe 5 different strings in the chord. So that hammer-on it's just a little less, showy there. But when you just got 3 strings and 1 note, ooh, something different happened there. It's exposed. So just because you're playing on a simple instrument doesn't mean that you haven't got just as much dramatic effect available to you. And you don't have to go super dramatic to get those effects. So it's kind of a cheap trick. Okay, so we've covered the chords. We've covered the different fingerings for the 7th chords and the mislabeled 6th chord that's really an E2 chord. And we've talked about a bunch of different finger picking patterns, and we've talked about the hammering on. Now, I'm just going to do a quick review of the finger picking patterns in case somebody joined us really late, and then we're going to take the last few minutes and look at some other places where you can throw some little melody bits in while you're doing all that other stuff. So it's everything including the kitchen sink tonight. So the basic patterns: thumb, first finger, thumb. Thumb, first finger, thumb, and the rhythm is 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So you've got a little pause after that 2nd thumb. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. You've got a half beat where you're not doing anything. 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and. So you could then go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. It's just sitting there ready to go. So we got 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and. Now there's no reason we couldn't do 1, 2 and. We didn't do that at the beginning, but let's just throw that in. 1, 2 and 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 1, 2 and. Now there Those numbers are the rhythm, not the finger numbers. Thumb, thumb two, thumb, thumb one, thumb, thumb one, thumb, thumb one, thumb, 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 thumb one, thumb, thumb. I'll get it right. Thumb, thumb one, thumb, thumb one, thumb, thumb one, thumb, thumb one, thumb, thumb one. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and. It's actually easy to say 1, 2, and. And so we've got, and we've also got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So the 4 patterns: 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2 and 1, 2 and 1, 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and so the combinations of those are more than enough to keep you busy and keep the audience a little mystified at which hand's got the dollar in it, you know, which is half the magic of music. Then we took the hammer on and put it at the beginning, which kind of called us to use the thumb, 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 or thumb, thumb, thumb one, thumb, thumb one, so that we had space for the hammer on to ring out. So now as we move into other ornaments, you could maybe hammer on some notes on the first string, because this D I'm going thumb 2, I'm going 1, 2, thumb, and then I'm letting the hammer on be the next beat. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm hammering on from and to 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3. Now that's going to really throw you at first, because we're not playing a thumb on that beat, it's just hanging out. To do it here, if I stay in the chord. So that's the first ornament you can make, is where you have a note on the first string, or maybe the second string. The B minor, thumb, thumb, hammer on, thumb, 1, thumb, 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 hammer on, thumb, 1, thumb. Someone just made a very flattering but exaggerated comment, because we lost Eddie Van Halen this week, and many people put him right up there with Clapton, who claimed the Clapton is a God title early on. I'm a huge Mark Knopfler fan myself. He's my favorite guitar player. But be that as it may, if there's virtue in what we're doing here, the virtue is in simplicity. And the virtue is taking simple things, doing them enough to be versatile with them, and then you have a whole bunch of simple things. Now, if you think about a box of crayons, each color is just one color, right? There's maroon, there's purple, there's ultramarine, there's but when you've got a box of 64 each individually simple colors, you can do a whole lot of artistic expression. And each of the little elements that we're doing on the Strumstick is, we're trying to keep each of the elements reasonably simple. Now I realize that hammering on with the pinky, that's not simple. That's hard on guitar. And his hammer on at the 6th fret, that's a hard thing, but it's not terribly hard. And this silly little E7th chord here, that's a new chord, and it uses 3 fingers. So yeah, you got some woodshed work to learn that. But they're still simple things. They're not fantastically complicated things. I'm not Eddie Van Halen going, fingering and tapping and fast, and keeping track of contrapuntal melodies at the same time. Hi there, Technophon. Yeah, nice to see you. I have what is for me a new visitor, a name I haven't seen before. stick dulcimer fan, and one of the other varieties, no doubt. So anyway, my point is, thank you very much. It's Mezavoida, and if there's, like I said, if there's a virtue, it's in simplicity, and then becoming skilled with simple things, and then putting them together, and then you look like you're a magician when you do simple things that you've practiced repeatedly. So we were going to do. We got a couple more minutes, so here's some of the other. Let me find a few of the other places there's little melody bits we can put in here. Okay, here's a. And what I'm doing there is I'm turning this pattern inside out. Instead of going thumb one, thumb, where the thumb is on the third string, and then the second string, I'm starting on the second string and then going to the third string. So you could say, you could invert any of these by starting on the middle string and going down to the bottom string. Instead of, I'm fingering a B minor chord while I'm doing that. And it's kind of a tongue twister, or a, rub your head, pat your stomach thing. You gotta practice that by itself. And you gotta make sure you're hearing where the one beat is. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Because otherwise you'll drop a half beat and you'll go from 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1, 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And suddenly you're calling it 1 and 2 because you've dropped a beat. But what doing that does is lets you go. Let me see, make sure you can see both of that. If that's not a Halloween chord, I don't know what is. So you could also hammer on the first string, the first fret note on the B minor. Sorry. 1 and 2. Okay, we got it. I got it now. So you really have to shift gears. It's like literally like going from the big wheel to the small wheel on a bicycle, on a multi-speed bicycle. On the A, 7th, we saw that this note was just sitting there ready to play. So we have. Oh, the pinch. I knew I was leaving something out. When you have thumb on the beat, you could also play thumb and first finger at the same time. It's called a pinch. And we talked about that when we did some other finger picking stuff. And so we would call that pinch, thumb, thumb, one, thumb. Pinch, thumb, thumb, one, thumb. And that lets you sound the first string on the first beat when you do that pinch. Now I would advise not going and following it right away with the same finger repeating again on the off beat. So you'd go pinch, thumb, thumb, 2, thumb, 1. Pinch, thumb, sorry. Pinch, thumb, thumb, 1, thumb. Pinch, thumb, thumb, 1, thumb. Or pinch, thumb, thumb, 1, thumb, 1. Pinch, thumb, thumb, 1, thumb, 1. And it's hard to go thumb 1 and then pinch. So don't follow the pinch with an immediate offbeat finger, and don't do an offbeat finger before you do the pinch. So the ideal pattern for the pinch is pinch on the one beat, pinch, thumb, thumb, 2, thumb, pinch, thumb, thumb, 2, thumb. Okay, so there you have, see, that lets you sound, instead of, because that first string note is an open string, it rings over those next couple chords. So you have, and you can hammer on with that note, or both. What the heck? So that's another element there. And I got to show you one more thing. We're going to just a hair over. You can make a moving bass line in this in a lot of spots. You have, I used to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't. So what I did there was D, A, B minor, and then I played the bottom note of the B minor, moved down one fret, sorry, okay, and then I played the G with the third string open, so I heard boom, boom, boom. So, ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know why now. Now I could do the finger after each of those notes. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. So I'm sorry, why, babe. So it's bottle dum, bottle dum, bottle dum, bottle dum, bottle dum. But you could just go boom, boom, or you could go boom, 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 bum, boom, bum. So, but you've got that little bass line sitting there, and there's another couple places. Sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. Now here. There's 3 notes in a row that the hammer-on gets to the offbeat. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, boom, boom, if you don't know by now. So a hammer-on, followed by another hammer-on, and then followed by thumb on the second string. It goes bum, 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 stays on the same note for the E7th. Bum, bum, ain't fit no matter anyhow. And here's a good place to do the hammer on the A with the pinch. And instead of fingering the full A7th chords, just finger this open, the G note on the 3rd fret there on the 3rd string, and take that little open sound that I showed you. Makes it easier to hammer that note on. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn. Now I'm going to hammer this note on. I'm going to hammer this one on at the same time. Now it's hardly going to sound because it's not being plucked. But if you hammer on from nowhere, say just any old hammer on, you got a kind of a half volume note, which is not as loud as. So I'm not really fretting, I'm not really plucking this note before I hammer it on, but I've got these 2 fingers there, so I'm going to just slam them both in together. Rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. And I'm doing that da 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 da, because it pulls out that extra note by, or do the pinch. So you're getting all those notes in there. Break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's alright. And I did the hammer on at the 4th fret up there. And those, again, those large fret hammer-ons are often not as strong and as loud as a, you know, going over 1 or 2 frets. But they in the flow, you're the reason I'm traveling on. They keep that da-dum, 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 da-dum at the beginning of each measure going. So, don't think twice, it's alright. Or, twice, it's alright. If you just want to breathe that note, it's alright. perfectly okay to do that. By the way, if this key is a little too low for you, which as it is for me, you could tune your whole strumstick up E, B, E, one whole tone, which would put it up to here. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Don't think twice, it's all right. That's almost within my range, that E note. So that's a one trick you could do for that. Or you could take a G strumstick and play it on that, or you could take a G strumstick and tune it down to F and move it up another half tone. So, unless anybody has any questions, let's see. Oh, we're complicated. Okay, I'll look forward to your email, Took the Font. I will see what it is you have in mind. We'll talk. And for everyone, of course, the email address is right here, info@strumstick.com. There is no lesson next week. We've been doing every Thursday for months and months and months and months. But the 15th of October, there will not be a lesson. So please tune in the following Thursday, which is the 22nd of October. And that'll give you 2 weeks to practice all your little drills for this and keep you busy. And we'll have something new probably. Maybe we'll review this a little bit then and see if anybody has any questions. But otherwise, we'll be back with something else. And it's good to see the new faces. And I'll see you all in 2 weeks. And I hope you're all well and safe. And do what you got to do to keep everything going. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye. I think I'll play it out a little. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. If you don't know why now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It'll never do somehow. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's alright. One more. Ain't no use in turning on your light, babe. That light I never know. Ain't no use in turning on your light, babe. I'm on the dark side of the road. Find something you could do or say to try and make me change my mind and stay. He never did too much talking anyway. Don't think twice, it's alright. And there's some other little juicy tidbits hidden in there. So, see you soon.